Welcome back to the Ileana Lamar Podcast. I am your host, Ileana, and today I am joined by Diego Gutierrez, a husband, father, and proud Stallion alumni. He's also a life transformation coach, entrepreneur, and speaker who helps people rebuild belief in themselves through faith, discipline, and action. With over a decade of experience in health and personal development, Diego is known for turning setbacks into fuel and helping others reclaim their physical, mental, and spiritual edge. Welcome, Diego. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, I am honored to be here.
Welcome.
You do such a great job with the podcast, and I'm just glad to contribute to it as well. I'm excited for what's in store for today.
We're going to have a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, I let everybody know as soon as they get here that we go over the 5 pillars of life, which are the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. We'll see if we get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we'll keep going on that. Before we do, though, is there anything that you want to, maybe give a little intro about yourself that maybe I didn't cover? A little something that you'd want people to know?
Gosh, well, I mean, I'll try to sum it up as quickly as possible for those that I have not had the privilege of meeting yet. Practically born and raised here, try to stay out of trouble up growing up. Love the sports, right? I think that probably has given me an edge in business today and in what I do today. My sports career did not go as planned. I didn't, I really was never an all-star. I really was just kind of the guy hanging around. Eventually I found my love for MMA later on, and I was able to compete, 3 cage matches there right before I started what I'm doing now. Sustained an injury. I was committed to go to the UFC some way, shape, or form, 100%. And an injury, just one day the doctor says, hey, you can't get in there anymore. If you do, you might not come out of there. And that's when that crossroads happens, and you say, okay, where do I go from here? Because all I known was sports, athlete. That's how I'm going to get out of the rat race, and I'm going to be successful through sports. That's all I could see at that time. And so I got into that crossroads, and it led me to where I am today. Speaking in conferences in front of thousands of people. I've had the privilege to empower many other business people that have attended the conferences, and I'm just enjoying the ride, really.
That's awesome. I've seen those things, and I've seen all this stuff, and I'm just so amazed by everything that you do. You mentioned that you kind of hit like a rut. You hit like a thing like, okay, I've got to shift.
Yeah.
Okay, what was it that made that shift, or what did you experience? What did you go through? What was it that finally one day you just said, I got to do something different. I've got to figure something out. Besides, of course, being told that, what was this that led you to where you are right now?
I would say one of the biggest events that happened was probably around the 2008, 2009. I was just recently graduated out of high school. My father had a successful retailing business, heavy machinery, construction equipment, and I really didn't have much plans. Like, he would tell me, go to college, but I didn't really I didn't really aspire to be a doctor or a lawyer, none of that thing. I saw the amount of money that he was making. I saw that he had a lot of time freedom, and I was like, you know what? I could kind of act dumb for a little bit and pretend I'm going to STC for a little bit and show up to some classes and not some classes. And then the financial crisis of 08, 09 wiped my father out completely. When I tell you completely, you're talking about, homes getting repossessed, cars getting repossessed, my mom losing her home, and just maybe waiting like a year or 2 years. I have a really great relationship with my dad up till now. And my dad's like, don't worry, mijo, I'm going to get back on my feet. And then I just realized one day that I was leaving my life into another man's hands, that if he got my at least financially wise, it would get better. And it just hit me with hey, you might be waiting forever. It says you need to stop. You're a full-grown adult. You're healthy. You can speak 2 languages. You have nothing against you, but you have to start moving. And I think that's when initially, I went into corporate America. I was dispatching 18-wheelers for a company down here in FAR. We were taking produce out of from here to the Bronx market up in New York. And then eventually I just noticed that wasn't for me. Just kind of being on salary, payroll. I've always been that competitive. How can I do more? How can I make more? And being at a salary just did not fit well with me. It was not for me. Long story short, the only thing I could think of, to get rich, I got to go into sports, right? The athletes. And that's when I took my love again for MMA. I started studying Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I started competing, and everything was going well. I really I try to be very blunt, honest with me. For the time that I was putting in, I was developing really fast. I was starting to get some traction in that sport, and just one day comes to an abrupt halt with an injury that I sustained in my last fight. And that was the crossroads. And I think if you ask me what was the event that really changed the direction, was coming to my knees and just saying, God, what is it? Where do you want me to go? Like, I tried this route, I tried that route, and nothing is working out for me. It's just, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'm sick and tired. I don't want to figure this out. Just give me a little clue, and I know that it's you, and I'm gonna run 1,000 miles an hour. Just give me some kind of visibility. I don't want to be in the guessing world anymore. Should I stay in corporate America? I had thought about opening my own trucking business as well. I knew how the business was running. So I was like looking into all these avenues, but eventually just coming to my knees to just make it visible for me. And long story short, I go to the seminar that I get dragged along to, and it's the typical, yes, the guy in the front making a lot of money, you should do what I'm doing. And you could call me the ignorant person that fell for it, that said, well, if that guy can do it, I could probably do it too. And now I'm the guy in front of the conference room giving those speeches now. Now that's me.
That's how it did it for you.
That's how it happened.
Wow.
Obviously, it's been a journy, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of everything you can think of in a 13-year journey that that was 2013 when I started. I was 23 years old, but nothing to lose. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a wife at the time. I didn't have a lot of bills. I said, I'm going to hate myself if I don't take this opportunity and get to 80 years old and said, I should have, would have, could have. And I said, I'm not going to be able to live with that regret if I don't take this on. And by God's grace, I'm here.
It is as simple as surrendering and saying, help, give me the answer, put it right in front of me. Yeah. And you ended up at a conference, that you got invited to, and then boom, everything changed. Because there are so many conferences and there's so many people that are standing on the stage. And then, I myself love going to conferences, love going to workshops, love doing that. What would you say to someone or what would be the difference for somebody that says, and doing what you did? Is it mindset? Is it belief? Is it, a little bit of everything?
I think the biggest word was the second one that you said. For me, it's and it's for me. It's all 100% belief. You either believe that it's not for you, or you believe that this is exactly what I need and I can exactly do this. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm not attached emotionally to the dates by. I just know I'm going to do it eventually. I'm going to get there. I know myself. I know that I'm a coachable person. I know that I have potential inside of me. I know that once I grab onto I'm going to get that, lock the jaws of the pit bull, and I'm not going to let go. And I know that because I carry those attributes, I decided to believe in myself. And I always say this: if you don't believe in yourself, there's nobody out there. There should not be a person outside of you, right, that believes more in you than you do in yourself. The biggest cheerleader, the biggest supporter, always got to be you.
You got to be your number one fan.
You got to be your number one fan. You have to.
Love it. Love it. And I was going to tell you to say something to the youngsters today, because there are so many. And right now we're seeing a little bit with all the social media, maybe a lot, where people feel pressured. I've got to get this already, or I've got to get that already, or I can't, or they want the easy route or this. What would you say to somebody, 20-year-old, whether it's female, male, in their 20s, that are kind of, I see that person doing it, I want to get there quick, or this? What would you tell them to inspire them to go forward? Because of course they've got to decide, yes, I want to do it. Yes, I got to have the belief in myself. But for that person that does believe in themselves, that doesn't know what step to take, what would you tell them?
So obviously there's this big determining factor, right, that we've all heard, right, that comparison is the biggest thief of joy, right? And so a lot of people, you can either use it for that to rob yourself of joy, saying, how come that person's being successful and I'm not? Or either, wow, that person is successful and I think I have everything within my arsenal to accomplish with that person. Now, obviously, yes, it's very easy to go on Instagram and not know their journey, right? What it took for them to get there. And obviously that's a big turning point for people to believe in themselves or not, right? Just because, they see somebody accomplish something in 3 years and they're at that 3-year mark or at that 5-year mark, it makes them believe that they're not up to par or that they might not be able to achieve that. But what I love to tell this young generation that's watching is that this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. I've seen many people in my industry, other industries that come in hot. They're the all-stars. They're pushing more volume, pushing more sales than everybody else. And within a year, 2 years, they are gone. Why? I don't know, right? A plethora of things could have happened, but I've seen it time and time again. And I've seen people, right? One of my best friends, Trey Heron, that's been involved in the sector that I've been, he has the journey where he, hit a decent level in the company and kind of just stayed there for like 25 years. Had no momentum. He getting into his late 40s, early 50s. He started at 20 some, and you would think he's not that energized anymore. But he reinvented himself at 47 years old, and he went on he reinvented him from being stagnant. That guy has no momentum to talking about a company that's in 95 different countries and becoming the top number one salesman distributor worldwide at 47 years old, reinventing yourself. And he talks about a lot of in his journey that he would always compare that the other people were passing him and they were making, and that it was very easy to get, very disappointed in yourself.
Right.
But you understand this is a long, very long race, right? And so I think if we understand that, it's not how quick you can get out of the blocks. It's how much can you sustain your pace and keep incrementing your pace as you're going along the journey. Never doing less has always been. Now, there's seasons, there's personal things that may happen to us, but it's, you have to figure out. I always tell people in business, if you want to push it in business, right, you got to think of it like an airplane, right? And the tarmac only has so much before, so it's like how much throttle should you give the airplane? 20%, 50%, or 100%? Now, once we get up there, we can coast a little bit and kind of release on the lever, but if you still have to meet a destination in a certain amount of time, at least maybe, I don't know if I'm going to get there in time, but what I do have control is making sure that throttle's at 100%. That I do have control over. And as long as my throttle is up to par, I'm not attached to the outcome.
You said you stuck with it. You went consistency. You've gone ups and downs, but you stayed with it. You spoke about him, that he did it and went, again, he reinvented himself. And I constantly say that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. Go. It doesn't matter what the past, go. Get up and go again. Is there something that you've seen maybe statistically or in your belief that what happens maybe through youth, or is it anything that you see that continues to go or that continues to make it, that has that mental toughness? Do you see that, especially because you all have become leaders in the industry? Of course, when you got started and you said you believed in yourself and you went through MMA, and I bet you that toughened you up. Do you believe that the mental part determines who makes it and who doesn't? And I think we're going in the same belief system, but I think it's just so important. I feel like we're right there. In your work, in your line of work, do you see that in people that quit and people that go?
100%. 100%. I'll tell you this: the low performing people, go check where they have lunch, and you notice they have lunch together. The high performance one, they sit all together here. The medium performers here, they don't really interassociate with each other, because the low performers, if they come into the conversations of the high performers, they're not that they're not welcomed. They're going to be uncomfortable because they're going to have high-level conversations. Hey, how are you doing with your sales? How are you doing here? So it gets very uncomfortable. So you start to understand, at least for me, it's the who you start hanging around. It's the oldest cliche little, tell me who your 5 friends are, and you're going to be the 6th one, right? If you're hanging out with 5 drunk friends, you're going to be the 6th one. If you start hanging out with 5 successful people that are motivated, that are on top of it, you're more than likely going to be the 6th one. So I found that in MMA, that the better the sparring partner was, the better I became. So it was very similar to business. The higher I would look at when I got in the company, I would look at all the big performers, and I'm like, I'm going to become so valuable that they're going to want to have my phone number. That I'm going to become so valuable that they're going to start inviting me and say, what's this little young Mexican kid from the Rio Grande Valley up to over there? Because he's just tearing it up in the marketing plan. And they're going to call me. And sure enough, I've had the privilege to speak all across North America, Canada, because of that simple fact that I said, I'm going to become so good at what I do that people are going to want my phone number.
Yeah. That makes me so excited. I'm telling you, I'm getting all pumped and inspired and everything, so my brain's going every which way. Okay, so let's go to the pillars. And we're talking about financial, we're talking about the mental. Now, how about the emotional when it comes to, balancing that in business, in family, in everything? But how do you handle that part? How do you handle the emotional balance to that? Because you have 3 sons.
Yeah.
You have a wife.
Well, I've taken the old school Mexican approach of being very trying to hold it together, right? Behind closed doors. One principle that I live by, when I correlate it, whether it's business or I have to go to a church event or whatever the case may be, is that I leave my baggage at the door. That's my principle number one. I work with my wife, 24/7. So for me to say, oh, I don't have any, I've never had in my, going on 12, 13 years of marriage now, I've never had a conflict. Of course, we've had where we're going to a conference and we just had a discussion about XYZ. And I have to, we made this pact that, hey, no matter what's going on in our personal life, we're there for other people. When we're going to do a speaking engagement, we're there for them. It's not about us. I'm not going to bring that baggage. I'm not going to bring that negative energy. And is it tough? Yeah, it's absolutely tough, but it's a contractual agreement that one makes with themselves because you understand that I must do this because, again, it's not about me. It's about the people that I get to affect. And I think that's a principle that I can always re-grasp upon, no matter how hard the situation is. So it's like, leave it at the door. And if you want to pick it back up, that's your thing, right? And I try not to. I just try to leave it there and let bygones be bygones to the best of my abilities. Is it easy? No, but I understand it just doesn't work for me, holding on to things.
I will tell you, when I was in my 20s and, even 30s, I was very, closed off, very, not emotional and stuff like that. And then again, I'm a female and I've kind of, I've dove into that, and so I'm very emotional. And that's one thing that I think I also need to work at. You know what I mean? The non-react, keep your calm, because I am very, very emotional. And I know in the last one of the podcasts I've had recently, or one of the conversations we were having, I said that there was a study about when you're in a surrounding group or something's happening and you're getting lectured, if somebody like tears up or gets emotional, all of a sudden it's because they're getting something before the other people do.
Yes.
And so that's kind of who I am. But that part of me has also made me, I might look like a Chihuahua, but I'm a pit bull,
Yeah.
kind of energy. So that's how I've worked with my emotions. So hearing how you said that, I kind of needed that today,
Wow.
like kind of, you get to feel, but you also have to know when to.
And I would agree that we should become, we are humans of emotions, right? We shouldn't, and sometimes when you open up and you show your emotions to people, they sometimes start, maybe they could learn something from you or show empathy, sympathy with you at that part.
Right.
Now, where the only part that, kind of with where I go back to this of holding it in is if you're about to make a big decision and you're emotional, that's where I say, pull the handbrake. Do not make any decisions that can affect you long term in an emotional up and down state. If you're not emotionally balanced before you make a decision, or you're going to say something that you're going to regret later on, do not do it when you're emotionally up and down. That's the only, then that's my principle. Not saying that it's the correct one. That's what's worked for me, because when I've made the mistakes, I shouldn't have said that. 9 times out of 10, it was because I was emotionally attached to the person, to the situation. You want to always be right. And I learned this from this book of How to Win Friends and Influence People. It says clearly, Dale Carnegie on there says that 51% of the time, we're going to be wrong. 51.
No, I'm always right. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's hard to digest that. I still want to, but it just gives me that peace that when I say, okay, look, I'll pick up this subject back up when I am not emotionally up and down.
Yeah.
I'll pick it back up. And 9 times out of 10, I would say there's just times where I knew I was right. Yes. But that just gives me the peace to knock it off, take it out of there,
How do you, with what you do, your business, your company, and the leadership and all the people that you mentor and everything, how do you help people handle setbacks?
Yeah.
Challenges? How do you help them with that?
Well, that's a really good question. I call myself a professional storyteller. I take pride on that. I love history. I love knowing why things work a certain way and why does it have this chain reaction into thing. Right. So it's always, most of the time, is like every time I've gone to a conference and, these big regional conference or they're nationwide, all I ever go in there is that, and I'm not having the best season in my career or personally, all I want to hear is I just need one story of one person that had it worse than me and came out at the end of the light with the tunnel with the light and then made it through. That's all I need to hear. So when I love the story, it's because I can't do this because I have 4 kids. I love telling you the story of Dolores out in Mexico that has 7 kids and that she made it happen, single mother. So it just kind of I love sharing those stories because it's like, what am I complaining about? And so for me, it's always based off of facts and history. But going back to facts, these are just facts. And even then, even if somebody were to come to me, right? I've had people say, well, Diego, it's because this situation is really, really messed up. I got 12 kids. Then I say, Ileana, I want you to write your name on the history books that Ileana, with 12 kids, was the first person ever that was able to come out on the other side of that tunnel, despite having 12 kids, single mother. That's where I convoke people, and I love to say, let's do it. Although you're setback, although you have this against you, you get an opportunity to write your name in the history books forever.
How much of this are you doing? I know you have been a speaker globally. You've been featured.
Yes.
You have businesses. How many stores are?
Gosh, maybe we have 40 to 60 locations. Mexico, Corpus Christi, Houston, California. And I have friends all over the world. Really, Spain, where Australia, all over. I don't have business there yet. But I've had the privilege to speak on those stages. I know during COVID, I was virtually out in India or somewhere out there. So I've done a couple things. South America, been able to go there. Costa Rica, just been all over the place, really. And it's funny that everybody is in the similar situation. Everybody is trying to find redemption within themselves. Is something that I notice people that are at the conferences, because they understood that they don't know it all. And I think when you figure it out and you let your ego down and say, I don't know it all. That's why I'm at the conference, because I don't know it all. If I did know it all, I'd be where I want to be, and I wouldn't need to assist these conferences or these personal development lectures, etc.
Have you gone to others where you'd be like, okay, this is not it? Okay, this one is it? Or do you just get inspired at every one? Because I know that there's so many speakers, gurus, things like that right now, and it's blowing up. They used to call it the blue ocean. Now they're calling it the red ocean because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Have you felt that before? Do you see too much of a rise of the wrong thing happening? How would you tell somebody? Because I feel like so many people want to get rich, want to get physically fit, want to do so much, want to be successful. And it's like, okay, relax. First of all, you're great where you're at. Relax, take a deep breath. Okay, now do this. What would you say to them? Because I do feel like, I will scroll Instagram for like 5 minutes and it's this and you're doing this, and then the other person's contradicting that, and what would you has that ever happened to you, and what would you say to somebody looking into that?
I always try to find the beauty in everybody's story, right? I always try to find that silver lining, what I can take away, because I'm already here, right? I can't just walk out. People are gonna see me, that guy walked out. I don't want to be that guy, or I would try not to. If my team's in the building, I don't want them to see me that I walked out on somebody. But I would tell you that more than anything, it's about how people present. That they don't present the correct way, or it sounds too much like I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. And I've had situations where I'm saying firsthand my story, but every single time I'm trying to find this message that I'm gonna connect with you, that even though your journey was not in the MMA space, I'm going to figure out a way that when I present, I'm going to emotionally attach you to that story like if it was you. And you're going to correlate it to something that you went through, that you're going through, and that you're really going to come out empowered. And I've just been so blessed that I'll finish a conference and I'll literally have people just bawling their eyes out, right? Just saying, I needed to hear this. I was about to quit. Their father, their mother had just passed, and they needed to just hear that little spark that I needed to hear when I was kind of going through stuff. Is like they got it, and there's nothing better than me. For me, that's how I get paid abundantly. And I don't even care when people tell me the sizes of the room. I don't care if there's 5 people in the room. As long as one person can tell me, Diego, you changed my life forever. What you said, what you shared, just made me shift something. There was something missing, and you made me see something I couldn't see. For me, that's the best currency that I can ever achieve. Obviously, if I'm in front of 20,000 people, obviously there's going to be a more amount of people that are going to, but at the end of the day, I just say, if I can just affect one person,
that's how
I'm
you
good.
have to look at it.
I
love it.
I don't need anything else.
And what would you say to them as far as what step to take, or not what step to take, who to take it with? Because again, I know myself. There's so many people that are teaching the emotional side. There are so many people teaching the mental side. So many people, financial, physical, spiritual. You've got great gurus, and then you've got others that, and you say you try to get the best out of everyone. What would you tell to someone okay, they have an investment, and they've got a little bit of money put away. What would you tell them about putting it? Because some people do feel a little, almost not pressured, but I've got to do it now, or I've got to do it this.
Yeah.
I've got to put my, what would you tell them?
I would ask that person, if somebody's giving you a course, right? I would say, would you trade places with that person, right? Do you know them enough to their personal lives, right, that you would trade places with them? Do you know them at least enough that much, right, that you say, I would. I've been watching them for 3-5 years. They have a beautiful marriage. They have a beautiful way that they're, and I would say, look at those type of things, right? Some people like to say all the time, right, like if, there's some people that say, I wouldn't, somebody could have a very successful business, but if their personal life is not in check, then I don't want anything to do with business with that person, because if they're a cheater in here, they're probably going to cheat on you on business, right? So you got to kind of look all these elements, go past the Lambos and go here, right? If you're going to get marriage counseling, right? And this guy's on his 6th marriage, right? I mean, if anything, you could learn something from him. You could learn what not to do. So even then, I will find beauty. I'll find something positive in here, right?
Yeah,
you go to a drunk person's how to recover. Hey, at least don't do this, so you don't fall and be a drunken person as well, right? So I think it goes based off of that. It's very tough to say who should mentor me, and it's a very difficult question because we have a red sea of mentors. So it's like you're practically just shooting in the dark. Are they telling me the truth? Because social media was only going to tell you their version of things.
Right.
So for me, it's like, before I make that investment, you got a little bit of money and you want to put it into real estate, right? I would do some digging, right? I would allocate some of that money into research purposes first, right?
Yes,
before I go all in and put all my eggs in that basket with that person, I would allocate some of the percentage of that money into research purposes, do a background, not a background check, but
everything's important.
Nature.
Everything's important when it comes to money, and I think, again, so many people are motivated to take that jump to improve themselves, that they believe, so I do believe you have to research. You did the MMA, you did all of that stuff. What do you do? What daily habits do you have? Diego has to keep himself physically fit, or in the physical pillar.
Yeah, nutrition has been number one key for me. Just this past year, in 2025, I found myself out of the holidays just had a surgery done to me, and I just kind of started eating my kids' candy from Halloween, and I just really fell off track, you know.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always just kind of been a little bit genetically inclined that I always got away with being tall. I could have a little bit of extra fluff and not really notice. But until I started seeing that my energy levels were kind of going against me, and I was maybe 17-18% body fat, which by standards,
good.
It's not bad at all,
No,
right?
that's good.
But for my standards,
yeah,
it was 100% over. You know, for me, anything over 14, 15, at least in the industry that I'm at, it's like you're not really being a good model of what you're preaching.
Right.
And so for my 36th birthday in April of last year, I said, I took this video and I grabbed my gut and I was shaking it. And I turned off the video and I said to myself in the mirror the most horrendous things that you should never, that if somebody else said it to me, I would have started a fight with them right then and there. And I had a real conversation, which is the conversation that people avoid, is the conversation that you know you've been avoiding with yourself. And I looked at myself again and I said, Diego, what the hell are you doing with your life, bro? Look at you. Look at that gut. Now, you have the knowledge. You've been lifting weights. You've been having the athletic build since you were 15, 16 years old, right? So you've been doing it for over 20 years, right? You're in the health and wellness space, right? You have the time. You have a full gym inside of your garage. You have a supportive kids and wife. I said, give me a darn excuse why you're this fat. And I didn't have an excuse. Yeah. And that was the day I drew the line in the sand and I said, I'm going all out. right?
Yeah.
And I was at 247. I weighed myself this morning at 206, somewhere 10% body fat.
All that since then.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you really locked in. Wow.
100%. I think 2025 was the year, and that's a result. I think the lowest I had been was like a low 12, 11, maybe 2014, 2015. When I was 24, 25 years. This is post. I mean, when I was fighting and all that, I was maybe 6-7%, which is not even healthy. You're always with your immune system out of whack. But I just decided to lock 110%, and so it's like, what is my rituals? That I'm really watching what I'm intaking, right? I'm really now invested in gut health, something that we always kind of overview, right? And there's just so many things out there, right? Some people say eat 7 small meals a day, or only 4, and some of these fasting windows and all this intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
If I could tell you something that I did implement, and was allowing my gut to kind of, this is a typical. The mistake that I was making was I was having dinner late, right? And then as soon as I love breakfast, so as soon as I was waking up, right, I am now eating.
Close, right,
it was very close.
Right.
And then I understand too that when you intake carbohydrates, right, the oxygen is not as pure going to your brain, right? And I'm not going to get into the science because I'm no scientist nor doctor, but I have the brief concepts of here that also, when your digestive system starts, that blood starts going towards your stomach so it can start digesting. So now it's just, instead of repairing the cells in your body, repairing your tissues, your ligaments, your muscle, your joints, it's most of the day, 18, 20 hours of the day, it's just concentrating in digesting food. So something that I took was that I have this rule of mine that I follow, that I say, I do not consume at least food up until 6 hours after waking up. And that makes it a lot easier for me than people that talk about 16, 18-hour windows. 16 and 18-hour windows sound like horrendous. Right. But when I started figuring out, okay, I have dinner at 8, right? And so I'm not eating till 1 p.m. the next day. But in my view, if I wake up at 6 in the morning, 5 to 6 hours is noon. So 8 to 8 is 12, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 more hours. Right. That's a 16 to 17 hour intermittent fasting. Right. But I only look at it as 5 to 6 hours after I wake up. And that was probably the biggest game changer, because I just had more energy in the morning. That's really crazy. I had more energy. And now I wasn't skipping workouts. And before, I would eat a heavy breakfast, and I'm like, I'll just go to the gym later, right? And I'll just go later, and I'll go later. And I just, that part never went.
Have you ever done the 72-hour fasting?
I've done 48 hours. I've done 48 hours.
Died.
Yeah.
And I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
I did not even make 72 hours. The plan was 72 hours, and about 5 hours before, I was just like...
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck is happening? I was like, okay, maybe I'll do a 48, but no, 72, I won't do that. So you've done a 48.
So I've done a 48,
And how did you feel after that? Did you was it a good thing?
I think the first day was the hardest. Like, once I got into 48, I just kind of got my mind off of things. It just kind of made it a little bit easier than that first, full 24 hours, because you're thinking about it so much. And I would say maybe that second day, now I kind of wish I should have tried it just to try it. I know Dana White, the UFC president, always talks about it. He changed his body around just by doing that intermittent. And I wanted to know the science behind it. I'm like, okay, well, why is this fasting thing such a great thing, right? Why is it working? And when I understand, it goes back to your digestive health, right? You're finally giving it comes all down to your gut health.
Do you all work with all that?
100%.
The nutrition and all that stuff? I need to talk to y'all about that, because that's
our principal core is digestive health.
I just started literally shedding weight, because for 2025, I was struggling. And so it's barely happened, but I need more of a plan. So we'll have to definitely talk to that. Okay, how do you help somebody within your team, within your group, help balance the financial success? How do you help them balance that? Or maybe if you want to let us know how you balance that part with your family, whichever one.
It's probably one of the toughest things to handle, because especially in our line of work, you can go from making very little bit of money to making life-changing money. Now, I won't say that it's not overnight, but it gives you some form of a platform that at least, I mean, if you stay at your job and your boss is the naggy boss, that nobody's ever made 6 figures in the company that you're with, then it probably doesn't make sense that you're probably going to be the first one that makes 6 figures if you're a part of that company, right? So it's very tough, because also in marketing, right, in network marketing that I do, was you obviously want to show that, hey, if you do this business model, you want to kind of show that hey, it does work, right? Because you don't want people to say, well, you're saying you make X amount of money, why are you still renting an apartment, right? That kind of doesn't go congruent if you're out here saying you make so many thousand. So it's very a double-edged sword sometimes, because it does convoke the average person to prematurely start spending money that they shouldn't.
Right.
And it's tough when you've had people that that they've been holding on for 2-3 years and putting off the car and putting off the home, and they finally have it in their bank account. And it's so hard as a mentor to be like, Ileana, please just don't do it. Not
Balance
yet.
it. Stop.
Balance
Not
that.
ready.
Live under your means. And that's my principal rule number one that you don't break is live under your means. Everything has been for me. I also grabbed this from Grant Cardone early on. I try to live off of 60% of my income. I try to leave 40% where it doesn't exist.
Like it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. And I know somebody might tell you, well, what if you only make $1,000 or $2,000? Well, that means that if you only make $1,000 and apartments right and down McAllen, or it means that you should probably still be living with mom and dad if you have that availability, right? Or that you're renting a room from a friend for $200 to $300. That's what it means.
That's what it means. It's a sacrifice.
That's a sacrifice.
Yeah, you mentioned Grant Cardone, and I've been to the 10X Ladies, and I've been to Patrick Bet David's and a few other ones and stuff. Who would you say is your person right now in of influence? Because there's so many gurus right now. Is there anybody that you're following right now? Or
Alex Hormozi.
You like him.
Alex,
I like his energy.
He's like a no fluff kind of guy, just raw. And I think that's very my personality. Like for me, I get into something, like I just say, what's the worst thing that could happen here? Like I just want to know, right? And then just no BS. Don't give me the pretty. Don't fluff it. Just give me the raw. So I know it's kind of like going into a fight. Yo, if this guy has right hand, like he can knock you, knocks everybody, let me know. Please let me know to stay away from that hand. That's what I want. And a lot of people are like, no, just take it. Come on, you'll be great. No, bro, tell me the reality. And I think Alex really puts that foundation to really give you the no fluff, no sugar coating. It is how it is. And then you decide.
He had a great 2025, I think. In Nevada and everything, the book thing.
He got the Guinness World Record for the most sales or $100 million sales in I don't know what time span it was. And so definitely, he's on. You could see, as they say, there's this old cliche quote we go by is success leaves clues, right? If you have successful, there's probably going to be clues around. You're probably going to get praised somewhere. Your lifestyle is probably going to start changing if you're successful. And you could obviously see that in Alex Hormozi for sure.
What is one principle that you would give someone striving to grow in life, the 5 pillars?
Well, I guess the biggest message here is we're going to go back to the belief system, right? That I love Matthew McConaughey that he talks about himself in the 10 years.
Yeah, heard that.
And that's my question to the viewers is that, like, have you even drawn out what you look like? Who are you going to be around 10 years from now, right? What are you driving? Yeah. What does your home look like? What does your family life look like? And there's a statistic that came out recently that says that people that write down their goals to not write down their goals is that the ones that do have a 46% chance of accomplishing their goals more than the ones that don't. And I love Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar would always say, he's like, the thing is that when you write down your goals is that you're actually giving it some physical form now. It's actually some part of energy now. It's not just this made up concept here, right? Having a vision board. Have you ever done a vision board? I would tell you that I once had back in 2015, I did my first vision board, and we moved houses in that time frame. And this is so crazy. It was funny because back 2015, I took a cutout from, it was just a Rolex watch. Rolex, right? It makes you think success. And my dad had one back in the day. So I'm like, okay, like, I guess that was just a stupid little thing for me back then. Like, I know that if I can acquire a Rolex, I made it in life, right? And that's kind of like a little cliche standard for some people that they do that. And it was so crazy that I don't even know the models of Rolex. I don't even know how much they cost at the time. And I'm just like, this watch looks cool, right? And I cut it out and I put it on my vision board, right? And it was just there, something I would watch, and I'm working, I'm doing my thing. We move houses. And in 2017, so about 2 years later, I said, well, the day I get to, there's this part in the marketing plan that says, when I get to the president's team, then I'll buy the watch, right? And so story goes, we go, finally I hit the plan that in the marketing plan. I show up to the mall. I don't even know what I'm looking at because I have no correlation. And I'm like, I finally see this this watch there, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be out of my budget. Like, but let me ask her how much it costs, right? She tells me the cost, and it was within my budget. And I'm like, no way, it's so beautiful. I said, I'll take it. I remember about this vision board. Mm-hmm. I go out into my garage. I take it out, and it's the exact
You're kidding.
same watch. When you're talking about color in the back, the dial, the bracelet, the only thing, this one obviously had like little diamonds in it. The other one had like these little like they were just bars. So the only thing that this one has is that it has these little diamonds on it, right? And so it's so crazy because I didn't go to the vision board and say, oh, me, what is this? And is that a date just? And is that, okay, let me, because I want that one exactly. Like I had forgot I even
had
this vision. That's how the
universe works. That's how the mind works.
And that's how the mind works. So I ask people, when you want it, what is a principal rule?
Yeah.
Set goals.
Yeah.
If you don't have goals, it's like getting on an airplane with no GPS. Right. You're just going there. And if you just leave it to luck to see where you're land, it's probably 99.999% that you're not going to get to where you thought you were going.
You just reminded me that I've got to do my vision board. We usually do ours every December. Yeah. But Maya moved to California. She did her vision board already, of course. So Mom dropped the ball. So you just reminded me of that because I have very similar stories. But that is so awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go? Because it has been a pleasure having you here.
Amazing
having you here. Seeing what you've been able to accomplish and go and hearing you talk and hearing you inspire. You need to be out there doing it.
Thank you.
You spoke about Cardone or Mosey. You need to go out there and do it.
Yeah, that's definitely a goal. And for me, I know a lot of viewers, especially down here in the Rio Grande Valley, we come from this small town where not that, not a lot is happening, at least on a national level. And how can we put the Rio Grande Valley with that Latino spice that we have in here of like, just tell me that I can't do it. Just show me that it can't do it. And I'm going to show you. And that's my message to you guys, that whatever your goals, your dreams, your ambitions may be, that I want you, that despite every obstacle stacked against you, I want you to use those as logs for of that burning fire and desire that's within you, that I know that you guys have, and just keep on adding those logs. Hey, they told you that they could. Every time somebody tells me that I can't, it's just a log adding into my fireplace every single day.
I love it. Thank you, Diego. Wonderful. It was an honor having you join us today. Well, that was our show. As always, remember to spread the love. Mwah. Today's episode is sponsored by I Am Luxury, the mother-daughter boutique bringing you authentic designer handbags, wallets, and accessories without those high luxury price tags. Whether you love Chanel, Louis Vuitton, or Fendi, every piece is carefully sourced, authenticated, and handpicked by us, so you always know exactly what you're getting. We drop new arrivals weekly and offer worldwide shipping, payment plans, and live shopping on Facebook, Whatnot, and TikTok. Treat yourself to real beautiful luxury. Visit IamLuxury.com and join our email list for first dibs and exclusive deals. That's IamLuxury.com.